Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chainsaw Reacts podcast, episode number 35, everybody. And today we're going to be covering three topics, and those topics in order are number one, Halo 5 first impressions, no spoilers. I will not be getting into spoilers. However, I will be talking about how I felt about the campaign and all that kind of stuff. No details and not getting into story and plot and all that kind of stuff. Just talking about the basic of it all. So, anyways, I'll be talking about that, and then also in the same topic, I will be talking about multiplayer. So, campaign first, and then multiplayer that features arena, 4v4, regular multiplayer matchmaking for Halo, and talking about Warzone as well. So, all Halo 5 will be in that first topic. Second topic is going to be, should Supergirl cross over with the Flash Arrow universe? Should that happen? Should they bring Supergirl over into the Flash Arrow universe some which way? I'm not really exactly sure, but should they? That's the question. It's not if or when, it's if they should do it. That's the question. So, and the third topic is going to be, should Fantastic Four 2 happen? Talking about the reboot, talking about should they make the sequel to the reboot that bombed horribly. We'll be getting into all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, guys, without any more wasting time, let's jump into it now, guys. The first topic, which is, of course, Halo 5 first impression. So let's jump into the campaign first. Once again, if you skipped ahead in front of the intro, I will not be going into spoilers about the campaign and all that kind of stuff. Just give my overall thoughts about how I felt about it, just not going into details. So let's jump into campaign first, then I'll jump into multiplayer and all that kind of stuff in a bit. So campaign. So right off the bat, when I was playing the first couple of missions, I instantly got hooked to the story. I really enjoyed Master Chief and his side of the story with his, team, his blue team, and Team Osiris with Spartan Locke and his team. I really felt the connection because obviously their stories will intertwine in the campaign, obviously. But I really got connected to the story, so I really felt there was something there for me to really listen to. So, really to me to grasp, essentially, because I felt in Halo 4, in my personal opinion, Halo 4, the campaign was decent in some cases, but there was other moments I just wasn't really feeling it because, like, I think it was the Didact. I think that's what the villain was in Halo 4, the Didact. I really felt like it's just a guy. He's a Promethean god or something. There wasn't really enough, for me to really care too much. I mean, he had some pretty cool lines, but overall the story wasn't really about the Didact. It was about Cortana. It wasn't really about the villain, which I felt, it's an interesting angle because Cortana is a main essential to the Halo franchise, like Master Chief is. But, when you're introducing a whole new race of, enemies, a whole new race of creatures and things we have to fight, when you introduce the villain and the Didact, the leader of the Prometheans, essentially, you want to get a sense of, you feel connected to the villain even though you don't agree with it. But I just didn't feel that. But in Halo 5 Guardians, I felt that. I felt that there was some actual story, and it wasn't just about the villain. It was actually about this team. Blue team with Master Chief, and then, Team Osiris with Spartan Locke. And then, of course, like I said, it intertwines, so there's a lot of connectivity there. And I really felt that the story pushed along forward what I felt Halo 4 should have done, but Halo 5 I think really pushed ahead and did something really, really great. Now, obviously, a lot of complaints online about the fact that the campaign is short. Yes, I beat the campaign in about 5 hours and 30 minutes, or maybe a little bit more than that, but realistically, that's a very short campaign. But to me, I'm going to replay the campaign with my friends on co-op at some point on a higher difficulty. But, for me, I would much rather replay the Halo 5 campaign than the Halo 4 campaign. I'm not interested in replaying the Halo 4 campaign unless for achievements. But for the enjoyment of the story and following it along and replaying it with my friends, I would love to do it again on Halo 5 because the story is enriching and there's more characters to be involved and it's an actual interesting story that throw in a couple of curves and twists that you don't expect. Like there's a huge twist. I'm not going to give spoilers, obviously no spoilers, but it's a really cool twist, and I didn't expect it. And I think that the way they ended this game, it's building the hype for what Halo 6 is going to be. So the way they end this game really builds up where this game could possibly go in the next installment. So I'm very, very excited for that. So for me, overall, yes, the campaign is short. I guess you could say that's a negative, and it kind of is. But at the same time, the story really caught me by surprise, and I was actually really interested in it. Now, I wasn't thinking, "Oh crap, they're gonna make a horrible campaign story," because Halo 4 didn't match up to what I thought it should have been. Halo 4's campaign was dull, in my personal opinion, in a lot of cases. But Halo 5, I didn't expect the story to throw a lot of twists and turns in it, and I didn't expect that the angle they were going to be taking with the story, so I have to give them credit for that, because I wasn't expecting what they ultimately did in the story and how they're going to build it up to 6. So props to 343 for throwing that curveball into it. So, anyways, let's jump into multiplayer. First, I'm going to get to Arena because they have Arena and Warzone. They're completely different. So, for Arena, we have 5 different matchmaking play. It's a play essentially. Arena. We have 5 different game types essentially. We have your regular free for all, which is obviously by yourself. You have team deathmatch. You got 2 more, but then of course they have SWAT, which I really do enjoy playing SWAT. And Breakout. That's one of the other ones I really enjoy. Breakout is basically where you jump into a map and you have 1 life per round, and you have to either just take out everybody else or grab a flag and jump it over to the opposite side into the enemy spawn point. And I think that's really cool game type, but I really am enjoying SWAT, and I really love the maps for Arena for all the 4v4 because it's compact. Excuse me, my I got stuff in my throat. Take a sip of the drink. And I felt like that even though that it's 4v4 and the maps are compact, I felt that there was a lot of moments where I could explore the map without, running into enemies constantly, which is fine. But at the same time, I really wish that, there wasn't so many twists and turns. So you really have to get accustomed to all these different turns and all this kind of stuff in the maps in order to fully take control of that map once you're spawned in. Whether it's SWAT, which is one shot to the head, you're dead, son. Whether it's team deathmatch or breakout or anything like that, you have to get accustomed to all these things because for me, it feels like Bungie and now 343, they've kind of found this really cool way to make the maps feel, compact in a sense, but they have so many twists and turns and second level and third level where you can jump up and get a higher altitude and all this kind of stuff and be up here and the enemy doesn't knows you're up there and all this kind of stuff. So they have a lot of layers to these maps. I really enjoy the fact that they're able to come up with these maps that are not just simple, like, okay, well, everyone's on the same level and there's a building over there, and they really find cool ways to make them expansive yet small, so you can actually explore and figure out different tactics in order to take out your enemies. So I have to give them that, because if the maps were kind of boring and kind of blandish and they really didn't add a lot of effort into giving different players these different points and tactics where they can go and get on certain places and basically hide out, or basically, be strategic about how they're going to attack the enemies. If it was a basic and bland map, the multiplayer would not be fun. It would basically be like, well, your typical, okay, here's the forest map. Okay, here is the underground map. Okay, here's the desert map. They found cool ways to make them interesting and entertaining, and it makes you really think on your feet what you're going to do next, because when you spawn in, there's multiple ways you can go about traversing the map essentially in order to get to your enemies. So I have to give them props on the map levels for Arena especially, but my current favorite playlist I'm doing right now in the playlist of Arena, it has to be SWAT. I keep saying playlist, like they're other game types, damn it. Talk! Freaking get your mind right, damn it. But SWAT is my personal favorite game type I'm playing right now, because I have Platinum, which is the ranking you get in playlists. So I have the Platinum Division. I'll probably lose that because knowing me, I always screw crap up, like this damn podcast. Fucking mouth went all to shit. My throat was all messed up, and now I'm not can't even speak. I always screw shit up, people. So let's get into Warzone. So Warzone is very, very fun. I actually am surprised at how much I actually enjoy it, because at first, when I heard about it, Warzone 12v12 plus AI, I thought, okay, this would be kind of cool, but it's actually the thing I'm actually playing the most right now with my friends, because it has a lot of, involved with it. There's these rec packs where you can earn mongooses and shotguns and power weapons and power vehicles and stuff like that, and you're able to sell them back for rec points in order to buy more rec packs, in order to buy stuff, and that's how you get your cosmetics, like your visors, your helmets, your armor pieces, your emblems, and your stances, and your assassinations, and your weapon camos and all that kind of stuff. So you get cosmetics, but you also get cards in order to use them in Warzone against your enemies once you've leveled up to a certain point. So I really like that angle, because it really switches it up, because if they didn't have the rec packs in this, I think that it would be kind of boring, honestly. That, you just run around 12v12 plus some AIs randomly show up. It just wouldn't feel as fun because there's not really a lot to do. It's a huge map and you just run around and you kill people. So I like the fact there's objectives at the same time, and there's also killing involves strategic ways, how to infiltrate a building, and how to take out the enemies in order to capture these bases, in order to push ahead. If you're attacking, if you're defending the base, you got to figure out a way to stop your attackers from running in. So there's more to that, and there's two different variations of Warzone. There's one regular Warzone, capturing bases, killing certain enemies, or to get more points, earning up to 1,000 points. But Warzone Assault, I believe what it's called, Warzone Assault, has your basic, just you're pushing the enemies back if you're attacking. You're trying to push the enemies from getting in if you're defending the positions, the bases. So there's two different ways you can play Warzone. So there's two different ways to kind of get involved with this bigger type of bigger game type. Essentially, it's basically like Big Team Slayer, just bigger. 12v12 plus AI show up. So there's more enemies to kill, more ways you can basically be strategic and try to help your friends out, trying to do something, take a base or try to defend a base. There's really a lot of cool stuff with that. So overall, Halo 5, my first impressions, overall, it's a pretty good game. I enjoyed the campaign. It's short, yes, but I really do enjoy it. I really am enjoying the multiplayer, and I see myself playing this game for quite some time from now on. So give them props to that. So anyways, let's jump into the second topic, but first let me get into my drink. Yeah, so the second topic is going to be, should Supergirl crossover with Flash in the Arrow? This is not a question of if or when, because I have a personal feeling they're eventually going to find a way in order to cross the shows over, whether Flash jumps over to her universe or she jumps over to Flash and Arrow's universe or whatever. I just have a feeling it's going to happen at some point once Supergirl basically stands out on her own, because I think what they said that as of right now there is no crossover plans. Like, they're doing cross promotion, where I saw a Flash teaser at the end of Supergirl or whatever. Like, after Supergirl the pilot ended, while I was watching on DVR, there was a Flash promo. So I'm thinking, well, there's the cross promotion right there. But I think what they said was, until they want to see Supergirl, stand on her own, and then they'll bring her, or then they'll talk about doing a crossover, because the way it's kind of set up, that Superman is real in her universe. He is a real being. You don't see his face in the pilot. I have a feeling you'll see his face at some point this season. You actually see Superman's actual face, and not just him flying around, his face all covered up, and it's kind of like it's a mystery. Ooh, but with that, if this was in the Arrow Flash universe, it would have already been said by Cisco, by somebody, that there is a flying man, and now there's a flying girl with superpowers. She's a Krypton, a Kryptonian. This is real. So the question is, should they do it? Because for me, there are some positives and there are some negatives to this effect. If they decide, let's say, season 2 of Supergirl, season 5 of Arrow, season 3 of Flash, they decide we're going to cross them over. Supergirl is going to go through some type of portal or something, and she's going to show up on the Arrow Flash universe, and there's your crossover. So basically, they've introduced the multiverse in the Flash, so basically she could appear through the multiverse. She's on a different universe, essentially, with all of her stuff. So the positives first. Let's get to the positives of what this could do to the shows. So the positive is obviously having Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl on screen together, battling some major enemy or something like that, would be pretty awesome, because, for me, the pilot for Supergirl was overall a good pilot. There were some things I had issues with, like it just got a little too weird for me, a little too girly. And there's nothing wrong with being girly. It's just the fact that, I wanted to see her fly. I wanted to see her kicking ass. I don't want to see her being Kara Danvers and her, basically just being a klutz and being, this girl who just basically gets coffee for her boss. I don't like that angle. I just don't like it. I understand why they have to do it, because she's not Supergirl all the time, but I would rather be less that and more Supergirl. But regardless, it's a whole different rant for a different time. But having her be a part of the Flash Arrow universe, even for just this crossover event, would be awesome, because basically we're bringing in god-like beings into the universe. Because Flash was created by a flash of light, Arrow, of course, was just trained to shoot bow and arrows and all that kind of stuff. And then you have different heroes from the Arrow Flash universe with similar, stories and all that kind of stuff, similar backgrounds of how they got their powers or how they became this or whatever. So for a godlike being showing up in the universe would completely flip everything, but at the same time, it'd be really awesome to kind of see that dynamic between a super girl who could basically kill Flash and kill Arrow. Like, she's the most powerful being on the universe at that point once she shows up on that universe. So that'd be really, really awesome to kind of see that. And another thing would be seeing her relate and see how she plays off with the girl characters from Flash and Arrow, to kind of see her play off with Black Canary and Speedy, and then seeing her with Daniel Panabaker, and all that kind of stuff from The Flash, and seeing her maybe with Iris have these interactions and all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of cool things they could do with her being on the crossover event, and to see them all team up and basically see kind of a mini Justice League. I guess you could say that that's one of the biggest things. The biggest positive is basically a mini Justice League. Supergirl, Arrow, and The Flash all together. To me, that's pretty badass. But the thing is, there are some negatives to this, because once you bring her over, because I would think she would have to be the one that comes over into the universe or the multiverse, so she can fly out in space and no issue, that she goes through a wormhole or something, or a black hole, and boom, she's in the new universe or something like that. The thing is, though, is that once you bring her in, nothing can really stop, the heroes. Like, there's no villain that could really match up to that level. Because if you bring Supergirl over to fight some villains, because eventually, let's say in season 2 they do this, because they're not going to do it in season 1. They've been saying it's not going to happen in season 1 of Supergirl. So as of right now, but next season, she's going to be a way stronger Supergirl. She's going to know all these different powers. She's basically not going to be learning to become Supergirl in season 2. She's learning how to become Supergirl fully in season 1. So once season 2 hits, it's a whole other ball game. So for me, if they bring Supergirl over into the Flash Arrow universe, or the wormhole, the black hole, the multiverse thing, whatever, then you basically have to bring a villain on that Arrow and the Flash together can't take down. But if the only way I think you would be able to take down Supergirl, the Flash, Arrow, and all the rest of their teams or whatever, all combined together, basically Darkseid, Brainiac. So it's going to be really, really bizarre on that front, because what villain could they bring in that could possibly go toe-to-toe Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, and the whole teams? I don't know. So that's a negative, but also another negative would have to be is that once she shows up in the universe, even though it's a big positive on one end, because it's a godlike being showing up in this universe, it's also basically saying that everything we've come to know about who are currently superheroes is completely out of whack. Completely out of whack. Because Arrow's a trained assassin, a trained marksman, a trained, bow expert. Flash was created by a lightning strike. Super speed. She was born on another freaking planet. And she came here, and now she has superpowers, and she can fly, and she could blow up the world. It completely freaking destroys everything. So they have to understand that risk, because once Flash and Arrow and all of them see who she is, and this world knows about this being from another universe that showed up in some freaky way that can basically destroy the world, that's gonna completely mess with the whole concept. So that's my fear, is that once you bring in Supergirl, it's basically going to make everything a part of the Arrow Flash universe completely out of whack, and basically mean that they're all, like, Flash and Arrow and all of them are way down here on the totem pole, and way up at the very top of Supergirl, because she is so far ahead. She's an alien. This is unlike anything they've seen before. They're getting it. Of course, Arrow's getting into mysticism with Damien Dark and all that kind of stuff. They're bringing John Constantine on next week episode Haunted, but a godlike being, an alien born on another planet, Krypton, for millions of, like, billions and trillions and gajillions light years away, and so far away, that's gonna completely, boom, blow it all up, blow it all to shit, as the kids say. So there are some positives. Mini Justice League, bringing her over, have some interaction with the characters and all that kind of stuff. But the negative is the fact that she is completely different than the rest of them. So that's going to be interesting How they handle that angle, if they decide to do it, I have a feeling they're going to end up doing it anyways because it's going to be the popular thing to do. But let's just hope that they really think carefully about how they're going to approach this because this could end up very, very badly, everybody. It could, so hopefully they do it the right way and really make it, not feel so out of whack because we don't need that right now. We just don't need it. They're doing good so far. Let's keep it that way. So if the crossover happens, just be safe. Okay, let's take a sip of the drink. We'll go to our final topic, everybody. And the final topic will be, of course, should Fantastic Four 2 happen? Should they make it? That's the big question. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I personally enjoyed the film. I didn't love Fantastic Four reboot. I didn't think it was an amazing 10 out of 10 perfect. I enjoyed the concept. I enjoyed most of the delivery. I enjoyed the fight scene between Fantastic Four and Doom. I understand that there's a lot of things wrong with the movie. I understand that there's things I didn't like about the movie. And it's a completely different type of superhero movie than I was expecting. But overall, when I heard about what it actually is, then my expectations changed based on what I was hearing. So there is that. But the question is, should the sequel happen? Because they planned a sequel. They actually announced the sequel before the first movie even came out. So they had high hopes at a time for this movie to be successful. And obviously it was not a success. Obviously in the box office. But for me, I felt that if they do a sequel, because the way they set this movie up, the way they set up the Fantastic Four reboot, they were setting it up for a sequel. Now, in my personal opinion, they're not going to do the sequel. They're not going to do it. But should they overall try it again with the same cast, different director? Should they try to do a sequel to the movie Fantastic Four reboot? And for me, there's certain criteria that I think that they should meet before they decide to greenlit and try to do a sequel with the same cast who basically, was in a butcher of a movie. But I enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't, obviously. So the certain criteria, in my personal opinion, has to be number one, obviously, new director. Not a brand new director like we've never heard of. New director for the movie. Get another director. Get a director Fox trust, and we'll give them power in order to do stuff, because we all heard the stories and read all the articles and stuff about how Josh Trank and Fox were head-to-head and all this kind of stuff, and how Fox basically jumped over Josh Trank and basically did reshoots and basically just took the movie away from him and did whatever the hell they wanted. So Josh Trank's Fantastic Four will probably never see the light of day because of that fact, because Fox just took it away. Just took it away. So for me, I think that's obviously number one. Josh Trank should not come back for Fantastic Four 2. They should get a new director they trust in order to give them power and let them do the movie they want to do under the criteria that Fox wants them to do. Like, okay, new director for Fantastic Four 2, you want to do this, okay? Here are 3 things we need to happen in this movie, and we will trust you with the other parts. We're going to trust you with what you want to do with the rest of this movie. Just make sure you have these 3 things in. Okay, Fox, I will do that. And then he goes and makes the movie. Or she, whatever. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Just make the movie good. Make it great so everybody will love it. The second criteria is going to have to be, make sure this movie has more fighting. They don't have to fight themselves. They don't have to fight each other. If you want to do that, you could, but they need to have more fighting in the movie. There is one brief scene with Ben Grimm and Mr. Fantastic in the forest. There is, of course, the fighting at the end with Doom and the Fantastic Four. But comparing to, freaking Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, man, it does not hold up. It doesn't compare, obviously, with the fighting of those movies. So make sure there's more combat in this movie, because we want to see this Fantastic Four, whether it's this cast or a newer cast. They're going to reboot it again, but we want to see this. We want to see the Fantastic Four fighting. We want to see them, working as a team, So for me, that's a major criteria for if they do a Fantastic Four 2. Make sure there is more combat in order for us to really, bite down into the movie and go, yes, this is what I wanted in the first movie. Give us more of this. Combat is great. Seeing Ben Grimm taking out guys, seeing Mr. Fantastic do all these crazy stuff and stretch his arms out and legs. Excuse me, a voice. Stretch his legs out, taking out guys, seeing Firestorm, light up and freaking go crazy and throwing fireballs and all this kind of stuff, and see Invisible Woman go invisible and using her shield and basically protecting her teammates and basically taking out guys being invisible. It'd be awesome. So make sure that is in the movie. Obviously, we need more combat. We need to see them using their powers more than just a couple of minutes in the movie. Third thing that I think they really should do is to really find a villain, because the way they kind of end the Fantastic Four, I mean, is Doom dead? Spoiler if you've not seen the movie. Is he dead? I don't think he's dead, but let's say they pick another villain they're going to go with this movie, and then hypothetically, if this one succeeds, the third Fantastic Four movie could bring Doom back. But if they're going to go with a different villain, or even if they're going to go with Doom, but let's say they go with a different villain for the Fantastic Four 2. Build this villain up. Give him some backstory. We don't need to see his origins. Just he is this person, or he is this being, or whatever. And we want to see some scenes, some backstory with what their agenda is, all this kind of stuff. Make us feel connected to the villain, because to me, even though Doom was kind of cool, not cool and awesome, but he was kind of cool. But I didn't like the fact that they spent a lot of time on before he was Doom. I wanted to see him being Doom a lot more in the first Fantastic Four reboot, and they didn't do that. So I really want to see this character have more dialogue. This new villain have some more moments, and basically have some more intense moments where we actually believe this is a viable threat to the Fantastic Four. So you got to have that in the movie. And so I really think that that's really the main ones that I really want. But it really just depends on if Fox is willing to, trust a director. Because, for me, when they announced Josh Trank was going to be directing Fantastic Four reboot, I was very intrigued by it. But at the same time, I was just wondering, is it going to be successful? Is it going to be awesome? Because the two Fantastic Four movies that came out in 2005, 2007, I believe that's when they came out. They were really close to the comics, but there was a lot of comedy and there was a lot of just moments that were just weird. So when they were showing off pictures and basically starting to promote the Fantastic Four reboot, they were going a lot darker. They were going with I think they were going with the Ultimate Fantastic Four from the comics or whatever. So they were going with the different origins and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it was just like, okay, they're trying something different. Let's see how this works. And obviously it didn't work. So I guess Fox at first believed in Josh Trank and then they didn't when they were in the filming. I'm not really sure, because to me, I don't think we're ever going to hear what ultimately happened with the Fantastic Four reboot and Josh Trank and that whole situation with him and Fox. I don't think we're ever going to fully know what happened. We might hear his story one day. I don't think Fox will ever say what happened. I think Josh Trank will probably eventually say his side of the story, but it's probably not going to be the full story because it's just his version of it, his side of it, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that if they are pushing forward with a sequel to Fantastic Four 2, that the director they pick, the director that signs on, understands what he or she is getting into. Because once they announce Fantastic Four 2 is a go and they've got a new director, that person, if they have a Twitter, a Facebook, any type of social media, better stay off it for a long time, because they're going to get slammed with attacks because they're like, I can't believe you took on this freaking abomination. What the actual fuck? And they just go crazy. So this person has to understand that's going to happen. That's kind of like when they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I mean, the internet was exploding like, what the actual fuck? And they were losing their minds. So when that happens, it's going to be crazy. So I'm wondering also, because I assume that Fox got the four actors who was playing obviously in the first Fantastic Four movie, to sign multi-picture deals. So I'm wondering if they're all freaking out, going, "Please don't call, please don't call. I don't want to go back." But contractually, they have to. If the Fox calls, said we're doing Fantastic Four 2, you got to come back. To like, no, and they have to. So overall, should Fantastic Four 2 happen? Should they make it? To me, I'm going to go with yes. Because here's the thing. There is a certain amount of time on the contract that they have to oblige before the rights go back to Marvel Studios. They have to have a movie in on the contract. There's a certain amount of years after the last Fantastic Four movie, or the last version or whatever, the last Fantastic Four IP movie, that there's a certain amount of years that the next one has to be in production, and a certain amount of time that the movie has to be in theaters. So it feels like to me that if what I've heard, that they had to have a movie in production in 2014 for Fantastic Four, and the movie had to be out sometime in 2015 in order to stay in contract so they could keep the rights. So maybe that was the angle. They wanted to keep the rights, so they just made this movie. Even though they thought it was going to be bomb, but they were going to do a Fantastic Four reboot. Like, why not? So we have to do this. So they could easily just wait a couple more years and reboot it again. But I feel like with what they set up and how they could go, if they got a director that they trust, and they get a great team of writers, and they start really going, more focused on the comics of Fantastic Four and not so much on the newer versions of Ultimate Fantastic Four, then I think they'll be good. But we'll see what happens. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast, episode number 35. Thank you guys so much. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about all these topics and all that kind of stuff. Very curious. Obviously, check the link in the description, obviously, to link to the other podcast if you have not heard them before. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.